about Real Madrid, Richard. I mean, these are the two great big Spanish clubs, and I noted that I think it's the president of La Liga was complaining about the financial fair play breaches that he accuses PSG and Manchester City of engaging in. He also says that the Premier League has too much money, that we're not on a level playing field anymore. I mean, Madrid also have to face this fact as well, don't they? That they have players who have been marvellous players, but they're aging. Modric would be one example of that. One of the best midfield players we've seen for a very long time, but he is cracking on now. They also have Sergio Ramos, who I read at the weekend may want to leave Real Madrid. Ramos is, the iconic leader of that team and has been for more than 10 years and a lot of Champions League victories. So they also have a difficult restructuring job to do, don't they?
They do, very difficult and systemically more complicated than Barca. Just as an example, Barca have 2 or 3 kind of sore points they need to fix, but Real Madrid's problems are all over the house.
Yes.
All of those senior players that won those 3 in a row Champions League titles, they're all on sweetheart contracts and until 2021-22. Modric got another extension. Toni Kroos got one until 2024. You mentioned Sergio Ramos. That's a very interesting case. We'll have to see how that plays out over the summer. He had he'd a falling out, a bust up with the president, Florentino Perez, in the dressing room after the defeat to Ajax at the Bernabeu.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that was a marriage. That was, he was Perez's favourite son, was he not?
Well, Perez would never have indulged him the way he would have, the likes of Benzema or Gareth Bale, but, Ramos is a more formidable character.
Yes, indeed.
He stands on his own 2 feet. So, Ramos tackled him in the dressing room about, the planning for the squad that season, namely why they didn't bring in a replacement for Ronaldo, essentially blaming the president for the situation they had found themselves in. So Perez, his form in this regard, he bombed previous captains out of the club in this kind of situation. So he wouldn't be slow in getting rid of Ramos. Ramos is angling for a contract renewal. His contract finishes up in 2021. He wants to add another year to that contract and improve the salary, but he's not a priority for Real Madrid. They've got other problems, like you say, the Bale situation, getting him out of the club, buying in all these new players. So they've 6 or 7 big problem areas that they need to resolve.
And they're thinking, are they not, of Neymar, which I don't think anybody in their right mind should do. But Mbappe would certainly be a big game changer.
Yeah, the noises coming from Paris Saint-Germain seem to suggest that it's not guaranteed that those two will be at the club again next season. This has raised the alarm bells in Real Madrid. They would love to get either of those 2 players. Vicente Del Bosque, the former Real Madrid manager and manager of Spain's 2010 World Cup winning team, was interviewed at the weekend and he said, what we're all thinking, that Mbappe would be a far better signing for the club.
Oh yeah, he would too.
But that none of this is concrete whether either of those 2 players would leave. But it would be a serious injection into the squads if either of them came.
Just in more general terms, Richard, the Premier League's supremacy financially, and the fact that 4 Premier League clubs are contesting the 2 big European finals, is there a feeling in Spain that an era has passed, and that maybe the giants, Barcelona and Real Madrid, could be in trouble relative to, say, Liverpool, Manchester City, Spurs in particular?
they're definitely running scared. You mentioned earlier about the president of the Spanish Football League, Javier
Yes.
Tebas, who's a really outspoken character. I mean, that's total sour grapes, his complaints about the English Premier League. He would never have complained about the dominance that Real Madrid and Barca had in the transfer market 6 or 7 years ago.
Surprise.
But there has been a changing of the guard. The and the issues with Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City, their oil money, that's been a long-running beef with him. I think that's obviously a separate debate. But there's a real fear at both Barca and Madrid. Madrid about the dominance of the English Premier League teams and about their financial muscle. We've spoken before on the podcast about Real Madrid spending over the last 4 or 5 years. It's really tapered off.
Yes.
The president, Florentino Perez, recognizes that they just can't compete in an inflated market. He's under political pressure this summer to make a big statement. So that's why they're going out after their worst season in 15 or 20 years. They're going out to make a big bang. But that's purely driven by political pressure.
Okay. Just a final note, Richard, on Zidane. He's back at the club. He is undoubtedly one of the most respected people in the history of football as a player and, of course, as a coach, having won 3 Champions Leagues. He's not having Gareth Bale at any price. And Bale is on a massive contract. Did I see it's like, what is it, 10 million a year or thereabouts? And he's 7, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
17 net.
17 million net. And he's not going to be playing because Zidane won't have him, but he's refusing to leave also.
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation for the club. He's digging in. He's got this contract until 2022. There was a comment that came out in the press last week. It hasn't been verified that he's saying he'll sit around at Real Madrid and let them pay his salary, and he'll go and play golf.
Yeah.
For those 3 years, disregarding whether the comment is true or not, it would definitely be his sentiment. There have been previous cases of players sitting on their backsides like that at Real Madrid. They'll have to find a solution for him. There's no comeback with Zidane.
Right.
That their relationship is completely broken down. And they've had this similar problem with James Rodriguez. Zidane didn't believe in him, so they had to ship him out on loan. He's another player they're going to try and get off their books this summer, but at huge price. You know, Bale is the guts of 100 million. James Rodriguez, about 70 million, give or take.
Yes.
So they mightn't get any money for those 2 players. That's a huge hole in the accounts. They'll have to loan them out again. So it's the Bale situation in particular is a very problematic area for the club.
And both of those players, I think, were picked by the president, Perez, who is not shy in coming forward and signing checks. Okay.